side of the 25-year veteran driver Finn in Detroit, as well as others reaching out in 2 line of duty deaths in the last 15 days. So definitely a lot of conversation going forth right now.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Jed,
Yes, sir.
I do have a correspondence from the Michigan Association of Fire Chiefs.
Okay. Was that sent out to everybody or not?
I don't know. I mean, I was copied on it. I didn't notice where it went. I just printed it.
Okay.
I know it went out. Can't answer that. I'm sorry.
No problem. Jacob, Eileen, Brian, did you guys receive it?
I just received inquiries about accommodations for people with learning disabilities during hazmat tests. And I talked to Dan Hammerberg and we answered those questions. That was for State Representative Paquette's office. And then Fire Marshal and I met with St. Clair Shores via Zoom in regards to some questions about officer classes. And then also I communicated with several people about behavioral health, as well as the recent suicide in Detroit as well.
Yeah, over the last, well, almost 6 weeks, I guess, in between meetings, I had a conversation in regards to mental health as well. And there was some discussion among the instructor board with some questions as to instructor 1, as well as the payment to the training coordinators while teaching that. I did speak with the fire marshal though about it, and I'll be drafting a response to our organization based on that conversation. So nothing to bring up by council.
Anyone else? It sounds like Sean Evey's gonna be busy coming up. Unfortunately. I did receive a letter from MI-FFTC as well. I will forward that out to the group, precluding this meeting. Once we get done, I'll send it out to the group. And it's about instructor orientation class and paying training coordinators. So I will share that with you for this. I did have a couple inquiries of the agendas not being online. I did forward that request on to, I think, Holly and Andrea, to see if we can get the agendas posted online earlier than what we had been. So hopefully that will remedy itself out. So other than that, I think that was about all that I had. I may be missing something, but I'm trying to look through my notes here, and that's all I'm seeing right now. Any further communications?
For the chair, Chad, Steichen. Yeah, I reached out to several of the RTC coordinators. The discussion last meeting that revolved around live fire, I was just kind of vetting all the RTCs that their needs and how they could or how they've seen things going in the future and how the council and how the state could help. But as a result of the earlier work session, we're going the route of behavioral health, so that conversation can continue. And I just want to just kind of make it known that I still believe that live fire training, especially in the northern reaches, is a priority, and we're going to work towards bettering the access to live fire training.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jacob. Kevin, did you have a rebuttal on that? Look like you're going to talk. No? Okay.
I had something too. I received a call yesterday from President Kyle Sabota of the Michigan Fire Inspectors Society, and he assured me that I will be receiving better communication from the Michigan Fire Inspectors Society now. So hopefully I'll be getting more direction from them for the Firefighters Training Council. So,
Good news.
yes.
Definitely, definitely more than a one-person show. So it's all about all of our organizations. So
Yes, it is.
good to hear. Anybody else? All right, moving on to number 5, State Fire Marshal Report. Kevin.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. If you're got your video cameras on, and I'll say this, the students are doing a great job of having their cameras on, but I'd like to take an opportunity this afternoon to welcome the Jackson County High School Fire Academy and Jason Morin, the instructors there. I see some of them waving. Great to see y'all. And Jason and I had a conversation last week in general about engaging the high school academies and helping with MI prevention and fire prevention around the state and stuff like that. And he texted me earlier today, and I'm glad you're here today, everybody. Welcome. And hopefully you'll learn a little bit about what's going on in the fire service in Michigan. And you are the future. And maybe today motivates you to want to become involved in, I don't know, maybe 20 years from now or 10 years from now, you too could be sitting on this council and actually making decisions statewide. So welcome. And just to kind of put it in perspective for some of you that are visiting from outstate, if you want to know a place that's got it going on, and there's some other places in the state, not the only place, but Jason Morin would be more than happy to jump in and to actually help you if you're trying to launch a high school program. I know he's very passionate about that. So Jackson County, welcome. And hopefully you pick up a few things today. And I look forward to, we get this COVID stuff changed around a little bit. I usually make a visit down to school, and I'll do my best to do that. So thank you. Okay, good. All right. I'm going to move on to really some somber news to start my fire marshal's report. I think everyone, for the most part, is aware that in the end of November, we had 2 line of duty deaths in the state. The first one occurred on November 17th. Captain Joe Gallo of the Blissfield Township Fire Department was involved in a personal vehicle accident, his own POV, responding to a call. He was ejected from the vehicle and died later that evening in Toledo. On the 25th of November, I attended his line of duty death funeral, and good showing in Southeast Michigan or down in Lenawee County. Of course, tough to do these days with funerals and a number of people that can be in attendance. But I did participate in the ceremony out in the cemetery, and they definitely paid honors to him and his family. 2 days after Joe's line of duty death, on the 19th of November, Michael Butendorp of the Grant Township Fire Department. And to put that in perspective, where is Grant Township? It's Oceana County between basically Muskegon and Ludington, so kind of up in that area. Michael was actually driving a tender to a fire, actually had a young firefighter with him in the cab, said he didn't feel right, actually brought the vehicle to a stop. Him and the firefighter were able to get the vehicle stopped. He got out of the cab and he went into cardiac arrest. That's the 3rd heart attack in the state of Michigan for line of duty deaths this year. And we paid honor to Michael and his family on November 23rd up in New Era, which is in Oceana County. There again at a ceremony that was outside in a cemetery, social distancing in place. But just, the reality is that, one line of duty death is too many. And, one of the things that I've shared in the Wednesday wrap up since then is for all of us that are on this call, get a physical, please, soon. And check into your health. And I know some of you are getting them through your employer. That's great. I know in my home or my department that I retired from, one of our captains within the last 35 days was given a stress test, which was part of a new component to a physical in Grand Rapids, and ended up having double bypass surgery. The good news is that it was successful. But that easily could have been the other way. He actually could have been operating on the fire ground in Grand Rapids and could have been the opposite way. So please think about getting a physical and trying to practice what you preach. I too, after this being the third heart attack, I reached out. I've had a physical. I'm going to see a cardiologist next week. Nothing really going on other than we're going to do a stress test and kind of assess where I'm at. So I think that's important for all of us that we take part in our personal health. And the other part that I want to share, and there'll be a big push after the first of the year, the seatbelt pledge. Many of you took it probably 10, 15 years ago in different capacities. There'll be a push here in the state of Michigan with the advocates of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation to try to get everyone in the state to take the seatbelt pledge with the idea that whether you're in your POV or whether you're in a fire apparatus, if it's moving, you're belted. So we'll definitely we'll move forward with some of that. Also, there should be in your handout package the revised course summaries that we provide to council every month, and just trying to give you an idea. There have been some exams. We're seeing quite a few right now with the RTCs are finishing up. That'd be the college courses. A lot of those started back in August and they're finishing up. And there have been some other courses that have been occurring throughout the state. So you'll see some early numbers. Those numbers typically rise later in the year. For our students that are in here, I talk about the new year. I get it. It's December. In the state of Michigan, our fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. So what I'm sharing with you is we're in the first quarter of what would be the state's year. So if you hear stuff today, that's kind of where we're going with that. I wanted to remind everyone, and I know we have some county training chairpersons on the call today or people who are active instructors in the counties around the state. All funds, county funds, must be encumbered by December 31st of 2020. On January 1, right after midnight, Dan will go in and he'll actually close off the ability to add classes at that point. Any money that hasn't been encumbered at the county level will actually be returned to the training council. And I think we'll talk later today about what we want to do with that money, but that's how the money will come back. So please encumber it. Please spend every dollar of it if you can, and we'll move on from there. Also, wanted to give you a heads up for the council and everybody in attendance on the rules. We're continuing to move through the rules process at Laura, moving it up through the chain. We just completed the draft regulatory impact statement and cost benefit analysis. This is a required step in the process. It's a required step within any process of legislation that's passed. So we completed that. That risk benefit or cost benefit analysis goes to Moore for approval, and then Moore then notifies JCAR. So we're moving farther along in the process. Just remember when we get to the part of once it's approved at JCAR, it makes it to that point, we can begin to schedule the public hearing. And so everybody will get notice of the public hearing. The JCAR process is very clear on how we have to post the public hearing. It includes newspapers, and I know a lot of folks aren't getting the newspapers, but that's one thing that is required in that process. We also will make sure that it's out on Gov Delivery, and remember, Gov Delivery is the way that we get the word out. We'll also be in contact with all of the fire service organizations when we get to that point to make sure that everybody knows about the public hearing, including the public hearing has to be posted so many days in advance, and people will have the opportunity to speak at the public hearing both for or against if they choose. And everything that's said at that public hearing is actually captured by a court reporter. So when they open the public hearing up, then everybody gets to have their say. There is also an ability to put stuff in writing. So, but we'll talk more about that when we get closer to that. Any questions so far on my report to the council members? Okay, I'll continue on. Legislative updates. We're in a season that is referred to as lame duck. What we have going on here through the end of this year is that anything legislative wise has to be taken care of or taken up or let out of committee by the 31st of December. If there is no movement on this legislation, basically the easiest way to describe it is that everything gets cleared out in the room. All the bills that were introduced since January 1st of 2019 all go away. And we start over on January 1st of 2021 for a new 2-year legislative session. Some of the things that we should consider for the next time, the next legislative session is that everybody is up for re-election 2 years from January. So that presents some unique challenges at times with legislative processes. Things you should be watching or maybe keeping an eye on for the that could possibly come up in lame duck. And as they shared, just about anything that can come up that's been introduced. And there are some bills out there that we definitely been watching. House Bill 4792 has to do with unattended fueling. All of the fire groups, thank you, have come out against that bill, actually entered cards at the Senate level. The Bureau of Fire Services is against that bill. Are there ways to do unattended fueling? Is it done in other states? Absolutely. But it usually involves suppression systems in the overhead canopies at gas stations, those type of things. And at this time, they were not looking to require that. So we're still we're hard on, it's a no right now. We need to make sure that we protect the safety of the fueling public as well as the public at large. The other bill that's out there, another bill I should say, is House Bill 6148. It's known as the O'Malley Bill. It would amend Public Act 390 of 1976, the Emergency Management Act. It would take emergency management out of the Michigan State Police and it would move it over into its own agency. So, we'll see whether that gets picked up or not. That's out there. And then the other one, and I don't have the House bill number, and we were looking for it today. There's a cancer presumption bill that would extend cancer presumption. Eileen, do you have the number? You're muted. Sorry.
4063.
4063. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
These are 4063. We could see some movement on what we're hearing. But, a lot of it is going to be, a lot of you've already reached out. I've seen different organizations asking people to contact their senators and their representatives. If you haven't contacted anybody on 4063, please do in the near future so that possibly this could get moved. Eileen, do you have anything to add on that? I know you're.
Yeah, so it went from the insurance committee where it was approved there to include paid on call and volunteer firefighters. Then it got moved to the Ways and Means Committee. We're trying to get it on the agenda to include breast, ovarian, and cervical cancer, as well as retirees from when they retire from the fire department until they're eligible for Medicare. But unfortunately, we are fighting the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. So if everyone can get a hold of the Ways and Means Committee chairperson, Iden, he is the one we need to get that on the agenda so we can at least talk about it.
So Representative Iden is the heads of the Ways and Means Committee. And in order for it to come out of committee, he would have to bring it to a committee hearing. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Eileen. Thanks for bringing us up to speed on that. I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
That's what, it's not to say that there aren't other bills that have been introduced that couldn't come up, but those are the ones that probably have the biggest impact to the fire service that have a potential of being heard during lame duck. Once they close out the session, they look for that to happen right before Christmas, then pretty much everything's done for the year legislative wise. And like I said, stuff then would have to be reintroduced. If you remember way back to January 1 of 2019, we were hoping to move a public assembly bill. We were never successful in getting that introduced. I know that's definitely one that I will look to get some support to help move after the first of the year in the new legislative session, I should say. Update on e-MFers, the third-party bulk update. I know Council Member Stiles shared this morning that he was able to upload some stuff yesterday. I would ask if you've tried to upload something, you will get an email back that says data transfer. Please go to the last page of that document and see how much data actually uploaded. Just because you get an email back that says data transfer as the headline does not mean that your data went anywhere. And why is that important? Many of the third-party softwares that a lot of departments are using around the state, actually, there's some work that needs to be done for them to align with what are the rules of what MFers will allow to go into the system. And that has been what's kind of holding things up. If you're a e-MFers user, or you use the state software, or the Fed software, I should say, not the state, the Fed software, that is the free software, and you upload your reports that way, that is up and running, and I'm getting reports from across the state that people are putting their reports in that way. For the third-party folks, keep sharing or keep saving your information within your own software system. And once they get the third-party stuff worked out and the rules and get things lined up, then as soon as we know that you can make a big push. One of the things that MFers put out in an email, and you might have saw it this week, is that they were saying, well, if you got third-party, you want to try to upload, you can. Just don't try to upload massive files and don't try to move it all at one time. They suggested trying to upload maybe a couple days worth of data and to see how it goes. But just wanted to share that with you. Has this been a long process? Absolutely. It went down on October 8th. We were told it would be down until the 22nd of October, and here we are in December. So like I said, if you use the regular software though, you should be jumping right back in and get caught back up, get your reports in there. And once we know that it's up and running fully and we know that the third party connects, we will then run a report. If you remember, we were running those MFR reports on Mondays. We try to do them mid-morning on a Monday so that you can go in and you can see whether your data got to the federal system or not. Any questions on MFRs? I know that's a lot of what people are concerned about today, and rightfully so. Okay. The next Wednesday wrap up is on December 16th at 4 p.m. If for some of you that are joining the meeting, twice a month on Wednesdays at 4 p.m., we call it the Wednesday wrap up. As the fire marshal, I get on the phone, we do a Zoom call. I'm looking down, we have 71 participants today. We actually had more participants on Wednesday in the Wednesday wrap up. So we're starting to get some pretty good attendance. We also did the nighttime version, had a totally different group, okay, which was kind of interesting. Who are we appealing to? Paid on call, fire service for sure, but also maybe people are just busy during the day that are a career firefighter. If you want to stop in the nighttime version, that all works. It's open to everyone. We will continue to do a nighttime version of Wednesday wrap up at least monthly for all of 2021. Okay, so that's one of the things that I've shared with my boss. We're going to continue to do that to communicate with you all. And the wrap ups, like I said, the next one is December 16th. We will continue them after the holidays. We'll take a break going through Christmas and we'll get them scheduled. And then we'll also do once a month one at 7 p.m. On the days that we do the 7 p.m., we'll still do a 4 p.m. So 4 p.m. will happen. The cadence will be twice a month. The 7 p.m. will be once a month. Okay. We also have, this will be the second edition of It's Friday with MI Prevention. It's a chance to connect with folks about community risk reduction type topics. The next one is on Friday, December 11th, so a week from today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The topic will be carbon monoxide. And I'll share with you, I thought I was pretty well educated in carbon monoxide. I thought I was really dialed in. But Sharon McNabb, who is the president of the Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association, she will actually be on the call. And I guarantee you she will open your eyes, some stuff that you've never heard about CO. And there is a probability that one of you that's on this call today actually could be suffering from low-level carbon monoxide exposure on a daily basis. And how do I know that? We had an MI prevention meeting 6 weeks ago. We had a young lady from the Department of Health and Human Services who's been working with us. And she listened to Sharon talk during an information exchange with the people on the MI prevention meeting. And she said, you know, some of those symptoms sound like what I got. And I've been going to the doctor for over a year and we can't figure out what's going on. She reached out. She got somebody to come out to her house to test for CO. Her CO detectors were not going off because they did not have a high enough level. However, her water heater actually had a vent issue. And lo and behold, she's a couple weeks out. Her medical problems are going away, including her cat, who she had been paying a lot of money to a veterinarian to try to figure out what was going on with the cat. They both continue to get well. So I throw that out there. Good information, could save somebody's life. And a smoke or CO alarm going off at your home is a big deal. Get out, stay out, right? But I'll also share this. You can have high levels of CO in your home and that alarm is not going off. And we'll talk more about that. Fatal fires. We had a fatal fire overnight in Kalamazoo County, Pavilion Township. That brings us to 112 fatal fires this year, or 112 fatalities, I should say. Just to give you an idea, we're getting real-time data. This is the fatal fire report, and I'll hold it up. I got it on my phone. It's an app. The Michigan State Police is using that app. The fire investigators around the state are using the app. I'd like to run through this just to give you an idea of the data that we're collecting on every one of these fires. So the fire happened last night it happened yesterday morning at 8 a.m. Okay, on a Thursday. It happened in Pavilion Township. I can tell you what their ID number is. I can tell you the address. It was a residential fire. It was in a single family home. It was a one-story home. It was not a rental. It was owned by the occupant. There were no smoke detectors present. Okay, so no smoke. The area of origin is the bedroom, and the cause of the fire is smoking. Okay. Now, something that's going to jump out if you've been listening to stuff that we've been sharing with MI Prevention is who's most at risk to die in a fire in the state of Michigan? People over the age of 50, right? We've been sharing that. Our victim from the fire is a male. He was born in 1958. That makes him 62 years old. He was found in a bedroom. His bedroom door was closed. However, he wasn't trying to escape. They actually found him in bed. Okay. There also was another occupant in the home. And so one of the things that we're also tracking is we always want to know whether there were other occupants, because sometimes on these fatal fires, somebody might pass days and months later. And it gets us to keep checking in with the different departments and such. So just some information that we're getting. You know, in this case, the person was not trying to escape. In this case, their door was closed, but they did not have any working smoke alarms. So just some stuff that we're doing through MI Prevention and the partners around the state. And we couldn't do what we're doing with MI Prevention without all of the almost 300 fire departments in the state that are actively involved in the program and are actually installing smoke alarms. Does anybody have any questions on 112 fatalities? If you're asking the question, where does that put us from last year? Last year we had 102, so we're 10 ahead of where we were. In 2018, we had 138 fire fatalities in the state of Michigan. So if we can keep it at 112, I would be just fine with that. And common theme, not having a smoke detector, and also within the demographic. Please, if you have friends and family that are over the age of 50, or for that matter, everyone needs to check their smoke alarms, but having that conversation with them could very well save their lives. The next thing I'd like to talk about is upcoming training. I shared with you at the last council meeting in November, which was that makeup meeting, that we were going to schedule a lot of stuff kind of to finish out the year. We are listening to what the fire service is saying. There was an instructor orientation class this past Monday. And there is an instructor orientation class scheduled for December 22nd and January 11th. And those will both be in the evening. And they are done virtually if people want to sign up. Who needs the orientation? In the instructor one class now, the orientation is actually built in and included in the class. But the reason that we still continue to do the external is that we have people who took the the fire instructor class prior to March 1st of this year. and also people who are getting equivalency with EMS licenses. Also, people who are coming from out of state with reciprocity or a veteran status. So as we issue reciprocity, the person still needs to take that orientation course and fill out an application to be a certified fire instructor in the state of Michigan. Also, we have 3 more train the trainers scheduled for the new Fire Officer 1 and Fire Officer 2. The next one will be on the 8th, excuse me. And then on the 15th and the 17th, if you're keeping track of that, that will be 10 of them done in the last 90 days. And we've trained, at the time we were done with the 17th of December, we'll have close to 200 people trained in those courses. We also just put out, there will be a class on January 21st, February 9th, and March 11th for Train the Trainers. The requirements to teach Fire Officer 1 and 2 in the state is you must have completed Fire Officer 1 and Fire Officer 2. And that could be the Company Officer 1 and 2 series also. I just want to share that. And you have to be a certified fire instructor. We're finding out through this process of people submitting to want to teach classes that we have a number of people who took Instructor 1, but never filled out the application and never got all the way to being a certified Fire Instructor 1. And if you have Instructor 2, does that allow you to teach that? Absolutely. That's one level above that, but we just wanted to make that very clear. Also wanted to share that I need to, as we close out the year, I kind of was doing a little trip down memory lane. It's been the weirdest year, I think, of our lifetime, right? For most of us. But if you think about it, the things that we've been able to accomplish this year with the help of council, but most definitely by the great work being done by the Bureau of Fire Services staff. If in March 1st of 2020, we actually implemented the brand new Fire Instructor 1 curriculum. We did the Train the Trainers and trained almost 70 people in those Train the Trainers right before COVID. We updated the Fire Instructor 1 exam to the latest NFPA standard for 1041, and we rolled that out. Since then, we've also, with COVID, had to roll out a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. We actually now have the capability in the state of Michigan to do Firefighter 1 and 2 virtually, okay? We also have released the Fire Officer 1 and the Fire Officer 2 curriculum and ran a pilot. And we're currently developing the Fire Officer 3 with a target date of having the Train the Trainers up and running for Fire Officer 3 by February 1st. So we've got a lot of balls in the air. We've got a lot of things moving. Andrea, Holly, Dan, TJ, Ann, we couldn't have done it without all of you spending way more hours than I'm sure I compensated you for. And I want to thank you for how you've helped put us together. We've met every deadline we've set. And in some cases, if you think about it, the August meeting, you asked us to have a virtual Firefighter 1 and 2 course, and we said September 1st, and we rolled it out. So quite proud of what this team has done. And Brian, for your committee with curriculum, get ready, because we got some work ahead of us coming up. And I know that group welcomes that, and we'll continue to move forward with bringing more of these courses online. With that also being said, and I'm going to knock on wood because the stars are totally in alignment right now. But I got an email about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon from Ann Searles, the deputy director, who was very excited to let me know that finally they are going to let us fill TJ Richardson's position, even during a hiring freeze. So that posted yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is posted until December 10th at 5 p.m. And I know I've seen some of you sharing out and about in the world of virtual communications. Why only a week? I want to make sure that we get this position filled. That is the shortest period that we could have open, with the idea that we want to get the biggest pool. I encourage anyone who wants to apply to apply. But I also will say this. I intend to have interviews before Christmas. And I also would love nothing more than come January 1st to have that person coming on board at the Bureau of Fire Services. Why? Because as I've shared with you already, this staff has worked their tail off for 2020. but we need the help. So, yep, it's only a week. If you want to apply, please apply. But the reality too is that who knows, there could be another freeze put on, and I want to be able to, once we have somebody in that position. And I'll also share this with you that the certification specialist position, which we would still like to fill, is actually over to civil service. And with any luck, that will post in the very near future. So there's 2021 is looking very bright in the training division if we can get TJ's spot filled and then get that certification specialist position filled. So for that, I started on some pretty somber news about line of duty deaths in the state, but I'm going to take getting TJ's position posted and us trying to get that filled as probably the biggest win of the year. And we look forward to 2021 taking care of the fire service. And thank you for the opportunity to work with the council throughout the year. And I look forward to next year. Thank you. Any questions?
If we can go back to number 3 real quick.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned about the county funding thing. It says all counties have not received their county funding due to missing fire reports or county need surveys. First question, are there other counties that are not getting funding because 1 or 2 departments have not done their fire reporting? Is that what that means? I thought the county would get it.
No, that is not what that means.
Okay.
So a requirement in Public Act 291 is they have to do the survey. Okay.
So just the survey piece.
I have counties that have not submitted their training survey.
Gotcha. Okay.
Reaching out to them. Now, with that being said, on the survey, we've made it very clear to all the county training chairpersons, and I even had a phone call with the county training chairpersons 2 weeks ago. Okay. One of the things that, let's say in your county, 3 departments just won't answer the survey. So you send it to them again, they don't answer the survey. At that point, you've asked them twice and they just don't respond. Submit your survey with the results you have for all the other departments in your county and put down that, Nowhereville, halfway thereville, and somewhere thereville didn't participate. See where I'm going with that?
Yep.
And then turn in your survey. But we've got counties where they haven't turned in a survey at all.
Do you know what that number is off the top of your head, or is that?
I don't know it off the top of my head right now, but I will share this. The beginning of next week, as I've done in past years, I will make a personal phone call to those departments and talk to them, okay? Last year we went so far as even, hey, we'll help you set it all up. We'll help you put it all, getting all that stuff together. We did have one county last year, though, that actually turned in their 17.5 and said, we're not doing a survey and we're moving on.
Because that could be a CTC issue then too, probably, if they're not
It could
doing
be
their thing. Okay.
Yep. It could be.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. That's a good report. Next up, new business, number 7. And actually, Kevin, you're up again. Return to county allocations for 21.
All right. Got something to drink here for a second. Okay, we're good to go. I wanted, we had the work session this morning and we know that there's some money that potentially comes back. And, I think we've made it very clear to every county, boy, I wish everybody would just spend every last dime of it, right? But then the reality is, even during COVID, hey, we plan on having somebody come in and present and they can't come now. And, $5,000 comes back after January 1. And any money in the Public Act is very clear that comes back after January 1, that it says the council may reallocate that money. Okay. And in the past, we've done it with grants. Last year was, live fire was kind of a priority. We gave some grants out that way. We gave out a lot of grants for props and those sorts of things. And to put this in perspective, though, being that this is really the second year that we've really done the extensive grant process, the week before the grants, Andrea spends 40 hours, Dan spends 40 hours, TJ spent 40 hours, I probably spent 20 hours, Holly spends probably 20 hours. My point here is we invest a lot of time in staff to receive the grants, validate whether or not they're MFERS compliant, did they sign them, did they do everything? And then we have the February meeting with council, and then we, dole out the money. And last year we went so far as to have an on deck list, which we worked our way totally through and gave back every dollar that we said we were going to. But I'll also share this. We returned $330,000 last year. Okay. Because one of the things that you run into when you do grants is somebody gets notification in, I don't know, June that they got a grant, and they go, well, I've only got 3 months left to do this. No, I'm going to pass. Okay. So they pass and the money comes back. The next grant that's on there, though, is more money than what they gave back. We got to wait to accumulate a little more money, and then we reach out to them. So what I'm asking for is and I think we worked through it this morning is that, it appears that the council would like to do some stuff with mental health. It appears that we work through breaking it up into some regions, 27 of them to be exact. We actually talked about how, as the money comes back in, that we would give it out in $27,000 increments. In the sense, each of those, if you want to say mental or behavioral health districts, right? I think there's 27 districts, that we would give them $1,000 every time we hit 27,000. I think it's a great way to roll that money back out to the state. Chad, I know you weren't with us this morning, and I want to make this very clear because there was a motion that was made back in June with Fire Expo. The first 80,000 of unencumbered money that comes in gets dispersed to the 26 counties that are part of the formula. So in theory, there could be $100,000 turned back in on January 1. 80,000 of it's going back to those counties. We're not earmarking what they have to do. We're saying, here's the money that we got back, like we said we would do in the motion. Expo's still going to happen, whether it's in person or virtual, it's still going to happen. And from that point on, any money that comes in would be dispersed out, with the caveat, if the motion passes today, is that it would be spent on mental or behavioral health. And that would be the only thing that money would be allowed to be spent on moving forward for the rest of the year, as that money was given out to the, if you want to say, the 27 geographical districts that were established today, using a map. And we will get that map put together too, Chad. I want to get it over to GIS. I want them to break it all out so people can visually see it. But the idea here is we don't have a motion yet, but I think the idea is that 27K shows back up. We have a weekly meeting. I asked Dan how much money's left. He goes, there's 28,000. We'd make those disbursements. And then that 1,000 that's in there, we'd wait till we get 27 more and we'd make the disbursement. And we continue to do that all year long, with the idea that money would have to be spent on mental health or behavioral health. So I think we're to the point where we've done a lot of talking this morning. I'll leave it to, if it's council's pleasure and they want to introduce a motion. I guarantee that we will have the ability to manage that as the Bureau of Fire Services, and to, dole out the money as it occurs. And each one of those districts would have to establish a fiduciary that will accept that money on behalf of that district. And it will need to be one of the county training chairpersons of that area, because they're already established in our system for making payments through our Sigma system.
So I'm just trying to get it wrapped around my head. You created 26 areas?
7
areas. Okay.
Yeah. What we found, Chad, is that if we did geographically, we split the UP into 3 sections. There's the Eastern UP, the Central UP, and the West. And the reason we did that, if they held a class in St. Ignace and I live in Ironwood, about as far west as you can get in the Upper Peninsula, I'm going to drive probably 7 hours in a car to go take that class. So what we're going to do is that there would be $1,000 put in the Western UP, 1,000 in the Central UP, 1,000 in the Eastern UP. And if they wanted to pool, any district could pool money together. They could, but the idea is that even in those districts in the UP, you're probably driving 2 to 3 hours to go to class. just because of the sheer amount of geography involved. And then as you come down state, some of them, the metro counties that have a lot. So give an example, Macomb County, 20 some fire departments, 800 firefighters. So Macomb County itself, we lump together like size areas that they would get their own share. Kalamazoo County would get, I think Kalamazoo is lumped in with one other county, but the idea here is that's how I got broke up into the districts.
Okay. And are those, and I guess I don't want to call them districts because we already have districts or zones or whatever. So is this zoning map something that we can use in the future too? Or is
Especially if we're gonna say, hey, this is money dedicated for that, absolutely. But we counties together. So like Kent County's on their own, but it's Muskegon, Ottawa, and Allegan County are together. And then you move out into the areas, you get up like by Bryan, it's like Bryan is Montcalm County, Ionia County, Gratiot County, and Clinton,
I think, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then up in the, even up in the, Jake has 5 counties kind of over in the western side of the top of the mitten, and there's kind of a central group. And then Alpena, being way kind of over there on their own, there's 4 counties over on the Lake Huron shore that are a district. And this is just for the mental health money that we would distribute as part of the 27 geographical areas. And council this morning took the time to break them out, and specifically we will get a map made that will list in zone 26 are these 2 counties, in zone 5 are these 4 counties. They're not all an equal number.
Okay.
But it's based on geography and population, or an attempt to do that.
Thank you.
And that map, once we get it, we'll post it on the website so that everybody knows. And that's why I say, there'll be a document. If this motion passes, we put out a document. This is what we're going to do after January 1. This is how the money's going to be dispersed. Please look at the map, figure out what, geographical region you're in. And based on that, then the money will be distributed. Once we get to $27,000, the first payment will be made, if you want to say. First credit. Remember that no dollars actually go anywhere until the training's done. What we basically do is we issue credit in the amount of $1,000 towards a class, and then they get to do what they want to do with it for specifically mental or behavioral health. And any course that money's spent towards has to be approved by council. So I think we established like 7 courses right now in the catalog. If somebody wanted to add a course, they will be able to do that, but they'll have to bring that curriculum before council for approval before that could be funded.
I got a sample motion. You want to hear it?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve $27,000 of the return fireworks funds to be distributed to a designated county training chair to each of the 27 Michigan Firefighter Training Council designated regional groups, or some variation of that.
If we list that $27,000, are we gonna have to come back and have a new motion every time there's more money that's returned?
I think we have to fix that so that it's just, we disperse all the remaining money for the fiscal year in 27,000 increments. Because, you're right. Otherwise, it's just a $27,000 motion. If we don't put something in front of it or right behind it.
And it's something that we don't want to have to come back and keep revisiting.
Yeah, kind of make the motion today, be done with it, and then we'll execute the money transfer every time we hit 27K.
And 1,000 to each.
Yes. So if there's 25,000 sitting in the account, we got to get 2 more thousand before we would make the disbursement. And then it would reoccur after that, Lene.
Right.
So we just need to take out the $27,000 out of that motion. Right, Kevin?
Well, I think it's important you say we're gonna disperse it in $27,000 chunks, just to say that it will continue to reoccur as money comes back to the Bureau of Fire Services or something like that.
And this occurs after the first 80,000 is paid back to the county.
Yeah, the first 80,000, the council already said where that money's going. That's going back. So there,
We've already got that motion.
yeah, the 80K goes back, Brian, automatically. Doesn't really include this, and this won't kick in until there's 27,000 available.
Okay.
But it will happen. I'm pretty confident. Unfortunately, it's fortunate for the training. Unfortunate that that we aren't spending all of our funds. But this is a way to spend all the funds throughout the year.
Especially with COVID, it's gonna happen,
It
I
is.
think.
Yep.
I know you're still writing, Greg, but you got a better motion?
Just was kind of noodling around here. I guess motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed in the amount of $27,000 per distribution to a designated county training share for each of the 27 designated regional groups.
For mental health classes. Unless you said that, or else I missed it.
No, I didn't. I could add that in
I think
there.
that's
Mental
Brian,
or
it
behavioral
needs to
health
be in there.
classes, right?
so they know when that money comes to them, it's not just 1,000 to spend on what they want to spend it on. It has to be a council approved mental health, behavioral health course.
But it kind of sounds like they're each gonna get 27,000. Do we have to say that each region or whatever you called them are gonna get 1,000 once we reach an increment of 27,000?
I think the more clarity we put in it, the better.
I can hear his pen ticking away.
All right. Let's see how the council likes this. Motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed in the amount of $27,000, comma, with 1,000 to each designated regional group for Michigan Firefighter Training Council approved mental health courses. I think what I don't have in there is to be distributed to the training chair, right? We need that in there?
To a designated training chair.
Yeah, because the training chair is gonna be designated by the regional
There you go.
group, correct?
Can you read that again, Chief?
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I gotta read it again myself. Motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed to the designated county training chair in the amount of $27,000 with $1,000 to each designated regional group for a Michigan firefighter training council approved mental health course.
Maybe we could add mental and behavioral health courses.
Yeah, it really should be behavioral health and mental health.
We put the 27,000 after the 1,000 per county for a total of 27,000, Greg? Because I think it sounds a little bit like each person's still gonna get 27,000, but then it says distributed. We did the distributed and put 20 for a total of 27,000 each disbursement, something like that.
Well, and maybe we should put in there too, that it's gonna be dispersed to the I don't know how to word it, like the council, the 27 council approved regions or,
Council designated districts.
yeah. Yeah, the 27 council designated districts in the amount of 1,000 per district. Or something like that. Just so that it's put in there that the training council is the one that made up those 27 districts.
Wasn't the discussion this morning, is that one of the county training chairs was going to have to head that up out of the groups that we put together? So it's already somebody inside of the system, correct?
Yes, it would be a mutual, I mean, somebody in that district's gonna have to be, but it needs to be one of the established county training chairpersons because
Right.
they're already in the system.
That's what I thought.
But where 4 counties come together, they might say, hey, the Gratiot County training chair is gonna handle the behavioral mental health money that comes back to this district.
Greg, did you get all that? You're muted, Greg.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Try this. Motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed to a designated county training share in the amount of $1,000 for a total of $27,000 to the designated 27 council approved districts.
For behavioral and mental health classes.
Greg, if you want to add that little bit about the behavioral and mental health, I think that's a good motion. I think I checked everything off anyways.
All right, I'll read it one more time and see how you like this. Motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed to a designated county training chair in the amount of $1,000 for a total of $27,000 to a designated council approved district, to the designated hold on.
Keep your muted again.
Motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed to a designated county training chair in the amount of $1,000 for a total of $27,000 to a designated 27 council approved districts for behavior and mental health courses.
Motion on the floor. Is there support?
Support.
Brian, thank you. Any further discussion?
Just, I think, Greg, that's probably the most difficult motion I've ever seen this council come across and get reworded. But like I said this morning with our work session, our discussion, I think we took some real important steps to helping, firefighters as far as mental health and behavioral health and things that we're dealing with. So I certainly support the motion and all the work that everybody did this morning.
Anything else further from the council?
Yeah, from Steichen, I just want to just throw it out there for anybody that's in attendance currently that wasn't part of our work session earlier. It might seem clunky and disorganized, but we did talk about this for two and a half hours. So the plan was reached a pretty solid consensus, and it does make sense. Thank you, Greg, for stepping up and making the motion, because it was that's a lot to fit into a motion.
It's a joint effort.
Anybody else?
Hey, Chad, before we vote on it, could we have the motion read back, please?
Yes, sir.
I have motion to approve return fireworks funds to be distributed to a designated county training chairperson in the amount of $1,000 for a total of $27,000 to the council designated 27 districts for mental and behavioral health courses.
Great, thank you.
further from the council? Hearing none. Andrea, roll call, please.
Okay, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Respectfully abstain.
Renee White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
and Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Saulmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, we've got 8 yeses and 1 abstention.
Thank you, everybody, and I appreciate everyone's patience. Moving on, still on new business, B. And Brian, you are going to be up for the next, who knows how long. You guys have been busy. Adoption of the Health and Safety Program Manager curriculum.
Okay. The National Fire Academy is coming to Muskegon County in January. At least at this point, I haven't heard anything about any COVID issues. We're still hoping that class is going to go in January 2021. It's called the Health and Safety Program Manager course. It's F0722. It's currently full with 25 people that have signed up for it. And this class replaces the old Health and Safety Officer course that we used to run within the now expired Fire Officer 3 program. I'd like to make a motion that council adopts the Health and Safety Program Manager course and put it into SMOKE for as a course catalog curriculum.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. We pretty much, we don't really have a choice in this as much anymore because they don't support it. So either we don't run it or we make that motion.
Right. Now the next motion will be to sunset the old one, but this would take the place of the old HSO.
The old one is sunsetted.
Yep.
It's gone already.
Brian, I'm sorry, Brian, was that a motion or were you looking for one?
No, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion to support on the floor. Any further discussion?
I would like to, I want to provide clarity, especially for the folks who are on the meeting, because Dan and I have gotten phone calls in the last few weeks and emails. I get it that in the past, Health and Safety Officer and Leadership 1, 2, and 3 added up to Fire Officer 3. That is no longer the case. And in fact, council had made a motion to sunset Leadership 1, 2, and 3 and Health and Safety Officer. However, in the replacement of those courses, the 3 that some would say replace those leadership courses, and I don't have the names memorized, and then now this course that we want to approve, there is still a thought process that if I take those other 3 courses and I take this course, then I can get Fire Officer 3. And that's simply not the case. These courses are standalone NFA courses that can be taught across Michigan using Michigan instructors. However, we have changed in the state of Michigan, and anybody who's trying to achieve Fire Officer 3 has to take the Fire Officer 3 class, complete the JPRs, and pass a certification exam. And to be in that class, they have to have Fire Officer 1 and 2 done. So in the past, a lot of people took classes, hey, my county's running these classes, I'll take them. And they took them in a lot of different orders. And the reason I bring this up, I get it. Next month, there's a train the trainer so that people can teach this course. And that's true if you're an instructor 1 currently or an instructor 2, right? You can teach the courses that you've taken. But I want to make it very clear that these are standalone classes, and so that Dan and whoever is in the new position here, hopefully sooner than later, is not taking phone calls of, well, I thought if I took this course and these other 3 courses, that I can get a Fire Officer 3 designation, because that simply is not true. And I get this call at least weekly. So I just want to be very clear that we're approving a course that hasn't been delivered in the state of Michigan before. And I think it's fantastic. It's a good course. But I also want to make sure that everybody's clear that the days of collecting certificates and having them add up to equal another certificate are done in the state of Michigan under the changes under Public Act 291.
Still motion of support. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Andrea, please.
Do it again. Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Evan Selmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, we've got 9.
Thank you much. Numeral C, numeral, letter C, Brian, you're still up.
Well, I was gonna make a motion to deactivate this, but Kevin just referenced it was done. I was going through minutes. I didn't catch it. So if it's already been done, we can pass it by. I thought we did leadership 1, 2, and 3 at one point, and this had not been done yet. But if it's already been done, then I don't have to worry about it.
Kevin, are you 100% on that one?
I'm positive it's been done, because that we also made the motion that sunsetted the leadership, or excuse me, the Fire Officer 3 designation, because none of those courses were available any longer. And that if we needed to, once they sunset a course, we aren't allowed as a state to teach it any longer. So we take, if you remember, we came with a whole list of classes that were taken down. So
We can skip that one.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sirs. D, updated course codes for McNeil's driver's training program.
So as of today, the goal was, especially at the instructors conference, was to have a train the trainer and bring out the new McNeil driver's training program. Obviously, we're not at the conference, and I did receive an email from McNeil, and I'll bring it up here and just basically, they are in the final home stretch on the instructor manual. They are running a train the trainer pilot out in New York on the 12th of December, and they expect the hard rollout to occur at the end of the month. The student book will then be done in the first quarter of 2021. That being said, once the instructor book comes out, then we can start looking at the test, and I can bring it forward in February to adopt the course. But the book is still 2 weeks out. This is, I guess, more of a placeholder and hoping it was going to come out, but it's not. So we'll have to give it 60 more days, and we can bring it up again during old business if need be, or we will need to.
No motion needed on this one.
No, just a request to move it to old business for a motion in February.
Okay. And I guess any further questions on D before we move on? Hearing none. E, updating ICS 3400 courses in the course catalog. I know you're instrumental on both sides of this, Brian, so go for it.
Okay. The newest manuals for 3 and 400 were released in April 2019. During that time, FEMA offered online updates. There was a webinar that was available to recertify all instructors to the new curriculum. As of December 2019, which was a year ago, FEMA disbanded that and turned it over to the states to manage, and that they would run their instructor lists state to state. The Michigan State Police picked it up after that and has been going through doing the courses for recertification involving the testing process, the webinar, a credential check, those issues that FEMA was looking at as well. We still have on the books for our classes the 2006 version of 300 and 400. And looking at the number of instructors, looking at the number of instructors that are there are 32 on the list. 10 of them have recertified through FEMA and are eligible to instruct the course. The rest have not contacted the state police about doing so. There was a joint letter that went out between Kevin and the state police. It went over Gov Delivery. There was notification that to contact the state police to get recertified to teach the class. What I'm asking for today, and bring it toward the council, that we deactivate I-15A and I-16A, and then start I-15B and I-16B, which would be the curriculum from 2019. And those 10 instructors at this point would be put on that list so that they are going to be teaching the new curriculum. If more instructors come forth, we can add them onto it. But currently the instructors on the list technically could put a class in the smoke and teach using the 2006 curriculum, which wouldn't really be a good thing because of the outdated curriculum that was out there with that method. Now, due to the fact that I work for the state police as a contractor and handle this type of 3 and 400 system and the credentialing of instructors, I don't want any sort of type of issues involving it. So I don't have a problem abstaining from a motion and letting everybody else make that motion. So it's really, I'm just coordinating it. I teach it like everybody else on the list does. So it's not like it's a proprietary thing for me, but due to the fact of my position, I'm fine with also abstaining from it and letting somebody else make the motion to move to the new curriculum and start the new process of using the newest instructors that are out there.
Brian, do those, when the students sign up, are they going to have to sign up in the MyTrain system?
Correct. If it's run by an instructor that's in Smoke, there'll be 2 signups. So they would be filed in Smoke and they'd be filed in MyTrain as well.
But from what I understand, the only certificate that FEMA will recognize, especially if you're going to the National Fire Academy and also the FEMA Emergency Institute, is the one from the state, and the state certificate would be the Michigan State Police certificate.
That one does bear more weight because of the fact that they keep track of the year, the type of curriculum being used. Doing this portion of it, we could also show that if they ever asked and they have a certificate after this date, that the newest curriculum was used as well. There's been actually 4 or 5 changes to curriculum since 2006 as we've been moving forward. It's the first time though that FEMA pretty much said, okay, as of 2019, you got to recertify. I think they were trying to clear up some of the lists.
Yeah, they
as
were.
well.
I'm good with updating the curriculum. I think that's fantastic, actually. You know, we always want to have the newest curriculum. My question though is that I've had people tell me that the National Fire Academy would not recognize the Bureau of Fire Services certificate, and that because of the way emergency management is set up in the state, that the official certificate that the feds would recognize actually has to be the one that comes out of the MyTrain system in order for it to be the certificate they'll accept. And I really want to be careful here. I don't want somebody to who doesn't go sign up in the other system, and then they take it here and they get the Michigan certificate from the Bureau of Fire Services, and then want to go to the National Fire Academy, and they're being told that's not the right certificate. So I get it, we're updating the curriculum, but isn't it also that, those courses have really moved over to the Michigan State Police because they are the designee in the state for FEMA?
They have. I didn't want to come forward and try and eliminate them. I know that there are individuals that take the courses through the BFS that don't plan on traveling out of state, using it for anything else, going to the National Fire Academy. Theoretically, if you really wanted to put it all under one house, yes, you would actually disband this whole program here under BFS and have students take it through the state police.
I just know that a lot of the phone calls that Dan and I field are, hey, I took this class and now they're telling me I got to take it again because I want to go to because I don't have the right certificate. And I get it at the time that somebody takes it, I'm never going anywhere. I'm not going to ever need that. And then things change in careers or jobs change. And now they want to go to the National Fire Academy for something. And that certificate is a prereq to get in. And then they would have to do it again.
And I was to say also, to answer some of that, maybe Lieutenant Sosinski is back on the call. I know she had to leave at 2. We can ask if she's out there. There's a lot of participants here to see if she's here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm on now. I just came back on though, so I'm sorry. I just left the last meeting. So if you could just repeat the question again.
And Michelle, it's Kevin Selmeyer. I just want to share, I'm asking, I should say, because I know you and we put that memo out together. And from what I understand, FEMA recognizes the course that in the state of Michigan, if you're looking to have a 300 and 400 certificate and be able to use it nationally, it has to be the one from the Emergency Management Division.
Correct.
And what I want to be careful here is that I get it. We have, like 10 of our instructors, I think Briner was a 15 that moved over, that, when we put that letter out that signed up and they did the refresh, but I don't want somebody to take this course in Kent County next weekend and they take it under the Bureau of Fire Services number and they never go in and they never enter into my train. And we generate a certificate and 3 years later, they're at EMI and they're trying to take a emergency management course and they're told that certificate doesn't count because it's not issued by the state certifying agency for 300 and 400, which is the Michigan State Police currently.
That's correct. And we've seen, and it's happened a few times.
I know you've gotten the same phone calls because we've talked too, that, and I'll share this, Dan has fielded his own too, that you get some pretty upset people that they took this course, they thought they were good to go, and their piece of paper won't even get them outside the state. So I just don't want to set somebody up for failure down the road that I've got a certificate from the Bureau of Fire Services, but I don't have one from the MI-Train system. And the MI-Train system is the one in which the feds are going to recognize to use.
Exactly. I think we're all on the same page that way. And that's why Brian is asking, or that's why we're asking for this, basically so that we can all be on the same system. I'm still not exactly sure what the hang up is or what it
isn't, Michelle, it's not a hang up. We're not hung up. We want to update to the newest curriculum.
Okay.
My question that I'm asking though is that if we update to the newest curriculum and we say it's a Bureau of Fire Services class, and that's the only certificate they get, potentially they go somewhere and it's not going to work. Now, Dan has shared with me in the past that those the NFA what's the 75A, I think it is. Yeah, 75A form. If those go in, the problem is a lot of the Michigan instructors that just teach, hey, I'm going to do it in Shiawassee County and it's only for, I got people from Genesee, Shiawassee, and Ingham County, and They're just here to take it. They take the course. If they don't fill out that 75 and that doesn't go in, they are not going to show up in the federal system. They're only going to show up in our system. And I thought that's what we were trying to work out. That was kind of why the instructors had to also be credentialed MSP, because that way those instructors could still teach under the new system, if you want to say.
Yes, that's all correct. I think Brian did hit a little bit of a brick wall, right? With Brian, as far as finding out more about that 75A or if it's needed or not.
I never received an email back from the NFA. And when I went online to see what could be done, the NFA, you can't even sign up for the class anymore. It says refer to your state training agency. So the NFA wasn't even doing anything with it that I could see. But I did email them and ask what could be done. I never received an answer back.
And we did some previous follow-up back to when that letter was being drafted. And that's where Dan got the follow-up if we were to send in that NFA 75 form. But that form's got to come in with the packet, and it actually has to come to our office and we forward it on. So it's an extra step. That's why I think that's where we're at. If an instructor doesn't do it here, if you teach that course in Shiawassee County and you don't fill out that extra form, and the only place they show up in is there's going to be some people down the road that are going to find out that they have a certificate that means a lot in Michigan, but it doesn't mean a lot with the feds.
Well, and my motion is not to disband the class. The motion is to update to the curriculum that's there and change the instructor list to those that are qualified to teach it. If, even if this goes through, there could be something that's put on there that those instructors need to understand that they need to do the 75A form as well. If the NFA is accepting that, I can't find online or to get an answer saying that they would, but if Dan says that that's going to happen that way, that's fine. We're still meeting the goal that we're getting the instructors that are teaching the April of 2019 curriculum. That's the biggest thing right now. Let's get the new curriculum there.
With the caveat, they have to do the other part. Otherwise, they don't have a federal certificate.
Right.
See, this is the part when Michelle and I went kind of back and forth. FEMA only recognizes at the state level in Michigan, the Emergency Management Division, the Michigan State Police is the designated FEMA agency. It's not the Bureau of Fire Services. And so one of the things that I get it, we're teaching these 300, 400 classes, but we're potentially teaching a course that isn't going to help you to get on a task force, isn't going to help you if you want to go do wildland firefighting, isn't going to help you if you go to EMI. So there's some things that I want to make sure that we understand that going into that.
I mean, so this being said, what I'm looking for today is to sunset the old courses, bring in the new one with the new letter code, and we'll move over the 10 instructors to that. If we do that, then those 10 instructors, if they're going to do the 75A forms, they got to know, to do that. And that can be done through a memo to them that, hey, don't forget, you have to do it this way. And I would actually put in there that it is requested that they register their classes in MyTrain too, because there are classes that they may take later on that build on that MyTrain certificate. MyTrain has its own training log as well. And then that certificate for 300, 400 is in MyTrain also.
Realize the student has to sign up twice.
Yeah, and that's going on now anyway. The ones that are on the list that are certified are putting them in both.
We've tried on that.
Does everybody on council understand kind of what we're going back and forth with here? That, the course really is the designated state agency is the Emergency Management Division at the State Police. And anything that we're doing over here, if you don't do the second step, over time, you can put out a document, and what memo was that in? That I was supposed to fill out that form? And now you got a whole bunch of students who went through a class, and you can't go back a year or two later now and say, oh, I should have put that in under the feds. Once the course happens, it happens, so.
And to give a little bit of quick history on it, there were 3 curriculums in 2006. The NFA, Wildland Group, and at that time, it was EMI. And they all combined into one book about 5-6 years later. And it was all taken over at that point by EMI and FEMA and everything else. And so it used to be the certificate was the same, but then it all became one thing. And then it wasn't really supported by the NFA after that when it came to printing NFA books.
Okay.
So I guess I can make the motion. I guess I just feel better. I can abstain from it if council or people feel that that'd be the best thing to do just based upon the other position I do.
I'll leave it up to you, Brian, but I don't think you need to abstain from it. You're not,
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
you're not the sole owner of it.
One last thing I'd like to add is that Brian has been a huge benefit. I know we've had a little bit of struggle with the ICS 300-400 program over the years and who was coordinating it. And I really want to say, Brian, being in his position, that he's in with you and with the state police, has really done a lot to bring all of this together under one umbrella. And I know that it's difficult, and I don't want there to be, this is law enforcement against fire, because it's really not. And this is just to get everybody on the same page, the instructors getting the refreshers that they need, and all of us to be putting out the same curriculum. So I just really do appreciate Brian coordinating this program now. And Kevin, your commitment to this and support has really been, invaluable as well. So thanks for that. That's all I've got. I'll shut up now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll make a motion to sunset I-15A and I-16A, replacing it with I-15B and I-16B, which is the April 2019 ICS 300 and 400 curriculum. I'll start there first.
Motion, is there support?
I'll
I'll
second
support that.
Janik.
Janet can support it.
Yeah, got it. All right. Motion to support. Further discussion? Andrea, could you do me a favor and reread the motion, just so we make sure we have the I-16A, I-16B correct?
I have motion to sunset. I got courses I-16A and I-16B. And then, which is the April ICS 300 and 400 curriculum.
Okay, let me rephrase that here. Motion is to sunset I-15A and I-16A. And establish I-15B and I-16B, which will use the April 2019 ICS 300 and 400 curriculum.
Brian, I'm sorry, my internet went out again.
That's okay.
I'm gonna need you to say that one more time.
Okay.
To sunset I-15A and I-16A
And
and establish I-1B.
I-15B and I-16B.
Okay,
Using, we'll make it general, using the newest curriculum for ICS 300 and 400 from FEMA.
Most recent.
Most recent, yeah, it's better, most recent.
Glad we clarified that one. Motion, Greg, you still support, sir?
Yes, sir.
okay.
Motions- I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I was just saying, okay, I got it.
Motion support, further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes,
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yeah.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Saulmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, we got 9.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, Brian. Next up is F, increasing funding for firefighter 1 and 2.
Well, before we end this last one, I just want to see if I have to make a motion or not. Since it's a new class, there's a new instructor list. Do we have to motion to move over the 10 certified, or are we just going to bring them in based on knowing that they're certified through MSP?
We're gonna need a list from MSP of who is currently certified, right?
Okay,
Because that's who they had to recertify with, right?
correct.
Yeah, and that should have been in the
They're
works.
not
so-
certified by us, they're certified by MSP.
Why? I mean, I'm saying of the individual.
But we need, what I'm sharing is we need to put it in smoke so that
Yep.
people can sign up and those 10 can teach.
Yep.
What I'm sharing is that they're not, all we're gonna do is turn everybody else off that has ICS 300 and 400, and we're only turning on those 10 names that are provided, or however many names are provided by MSP.
Okay, I have the old list. I will send that over, and the 10 names are marked that have done what's
I
required.
actually would ask that the lieutenant sends over a list on letterhead, please.
Okay,
These are the 10, please. That way, we get it official from them. And that way, if there's any questions coming back of who can teach, you know what I mean? As far as even the NFA 75s that need to be turned in, okay? That if they're going to go through us, I get it, it's joint registering, but if we could get that, that'd be great.
okay,
And then anybody else who's in there, we're gonna then go through and turn off their ability to teach that course because they're not current.
okay. No, that works.
Okay. And thank you for your work on that. I know there's been a lot of hours back and forth, but I just want to make sure that I don't want people to think they got something that they don't have, and that's why I brought that up.
No, that's good discussion. It's been a while, and it's just bringing all the programs together.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. You bet.
Anything further? And now we're increasing funding for firefighter 1 and 2 programs. Brian?
Okay, so during public comment last meeting, and then of course last December, I brought up the issue that the 16,225 provided for firefighter 1 and 2, as well as hazmat operations in there, is becoming increasingly difficult to be able to fund academies the way that they need to be funded, especially at a 1-to-5 instructor ratio. We've discussed as a group that sometimes it's easier, you can bring in outside firefighters to teach for free. And then the question comes up is, are they able to teach the curriculum in a way for our students to learn from it and be prepared to use it in the field or at the state required means for passing the exam? So if we're going to bring in instructor ones, even certified instructors, how do they get paid if we're only at 16,225? I realize that there's 60 hours of time that is left available for teaching practicals. If you look at what's there when it comes to 295 hours, one instructor in the room doing lecture, there's about 60 hours left. However, if you have 4 instructors in the room and they each teach a group an hour, we've burned up 4 hours of time of pay to get those groups done. So you went from 60 hours and you're diminishing it very, very quickly when it comes to practical time and compensating these types of the instructors that are there. So that being said, and also the a side issue of having available money cap space in smoke at 16,225, many departments want to put their and I'll use the word tuition, but the money that's being used for their students into smoke. But if an academy costs $22,000, you only have $16,225 of space to utilize. So if your budget is there, you cannot get money from outside counties to put that into smoke because it's all done. And that would mean that if a county, if it's $20,000 for an academy and there's 16,225, the other give or take 4,000 has to be paid in cash by departments, which they may be planning on using smoke money to cover the expenses for the academy. I would like to see the course cap raised on the class in smoke. If you remember last year, a year ago, I had a 3-tier idea. It was 0 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25. We looked at numbers. That was voted down, but I spoke to some council members afterwards who had some other ideas about maybe it should have been 3,000 and not 5,000, and other different ideas. It didn't really, it's never been brought back to the table until now, but the same issues have come up this year with fire academies. And so I'd like to start the discussion that we put into smoke a course cap of $20,000, and that if council looks to have a tiered system of 1 to 10 students, 10 to 15 students, 15 to 20 students, if we say 20,000 would be 20 students or more, we can deviate from that. But if you have 20 students in a class on average, 20,000 or so should be able to cover the program. But we need to come up with a way to have more money be able to be put into smoke so that we can cover the academies. We've discussed as a council wanting counties to work with each other to put money in for some of these classes, company officer schools, or fire officer 1 and 2 schools, running county to county, having different monies all dumped into smoke. But 16,225 is not allowing the counties to be able to put an ample amount of money in there to run those types of programs. So I'm not looking at increasing the 17.5. That's not what this is about. The counties are still going to get their 17.5, but it does allow counties that if one county has 8, if you have 8 students and 8 students, 8 students, that's 24 for 3 counties. And that would allow, say it's 21, 7, 7, and 7, there's 21,000. All 3 counties pay the same amount. All 3 counties are able to put their money in there. And if there's going to be other charges, then those 3 counties can discuss where it would go. But at least there's a little bit more cap space to utilize fireworks funding. I can, if you want me to make a motion right up front, we can, and massage it from there, that's fine. Or else there's a feedback from anybody on council as to ideas of where to go.
I agree, Brian, that, it's an issue that you brought up last year that we do need to deal with this. You know, we don't want academies being short money, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's justified. And Brian brought this to the table and we just weren't receptive at the time, but I've heard on the street, there's a need to increase this and support Brian's initiative.
I hear, excuse me, I hear two things on the street right now, and I've heard them both this month through emails and phone calls. The one is in full support of what Brian is looking to accomplish. That I do hear that the economy, fire academies need more funding. They need to bring more people in. They need the resources to make their academies work. The other thing on the other side that I continue to hear, and this is a real unpopular thing to say, you know, in this room, being I'm an instructor myself, is I hear a lot that fireworks safety training funds have made instructors greedy, and there isn't right, wrong, or indifferent, Brian. There is a sentiment out there that this is just going to get passed right on to more instructors, just like when we raised from the 40 to the current rate. There's the idea too that fireworks safety fees were never meant to completely fund all training, and that in some counties that's what they've done. They've stopped trying to charge anything, and essentially they're trying to run everything off the fireworks safety fees. I'm hearing all three of those perspectives in the last month, which I find interesting, that there is that sentiment out there, that I understand, as you said, you know, that there are counties that need additional funding. But there is a real concern that every time we raise the cap, that maybe it's going, you know, instructors are just directly increasing their pay. I think that is something that we have to be cognizant of. That is I've heard that from at least 6 people in the past month. That is a real concern. And that is the exact wording that I get is the fireworks training funds have made instructors greedy. If that's perception or if that's true, either way, it's something that is happening, or that is what's being said. And so I think we need to be cognizant of that opinion is definitely out there.
And I agree with that. You are 100% correct.
Yeah, I concur that, Terry. My biggest contention of it was the same thing. Every time we raise that cap, we see a lot of it that it goes all to the instructors, and that's not what was intended for. It was course fees, not instructor fees. And along those same lines, the fireworks fund was never intended to fully supplement 100% of the training. It was. I shouldn't say that. It was never there to fund 100% of the training. It was there to supplement your training. And I would really like to see more counties adopt policies of what they pay their instructors and their course managers, to better allocate those funds. I know we would never pay $45, $55 an hour to an instructor, but we do see that out there. But I also know that especially the academies are, if you add up at least the hours, it is underfunded as far as what we can put toward it. So I do understand that piece of it.
I understand where Brian's coming from and Terry. I taught in an academy last year, and I taught for $10 an hour because that academy did not receive any funding from the county. So the fire departments, they paid for it themselves. But to me, it was about getting the firefighters trained because we do need firefighters. Some of our firefighters did attend a county-funded training academy, and they did not receive the training that they should have. And so one of my things is I think we as a council, we need to get a handle on how, and I know it would take work, and I don't know how to even do it. So I don't have a solution, but so these instructors are putting in, yeah, we were in class for 4 or 5 hours, but yet they weren't. And I know this from 3 of my guys that took the fire academy last year. They were supposed to attend a Saturday training, and they were only there for an hour and a half, and they didn't even get their hands on any of the equipment. So it's like, you know, I just don't, it's hard to say with this virtual stuff. Are the instructors just telling the students to watch the Jones and Bartlett lectures and do the quizzes, but yet they're still putting in to be paid, saying that, yeah, I taught that chapter, but yet they didn't? Are they actually giving live lectures, or are they just telling the students to watch the JMB lecture? How do we know? So that's where I have the problem of this. Yes, I agree it does need to be raised, but I think it has gotten out of hand as far as there are some greedy instructors out there, for sure. So that's my 2 cents.
As council members, we can, if you hear complaints about that, we can drop into classes and ensure that the instructors are there and are teaching their designated hours too.
Right. Well, and I heard this after the fact, after.
Well, the problem with virtual is if you don't have access to the code, you can't see that they were there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, in theory, I support but you know, the idea of giving the county the ability to use their funding or additional funding to support their class. They needed to hire new or add instructors for the safety ratio. If they needed to do these things, the concern is that going to happen, or is it going to be passed right directly on in additional instructor wages? That's my concern. If there was some way for us to curtail that or fix that issue, I would have no problem with the idea or the motion. I just don't know as council, how do we address that?
Chad?
Can we set the rate what instructors are paid across the board, or no? Is that something we can't do?
We got away from that, and Kevin might be actually talking about that. Kevin?
I'm going to go there, but
Oh.
share this. A year ago, when we talked about it in Traverse City, we didn't do a lot of the work that we've done in the last year, the 43 work sessions, right? And we worked on the rules, and we got in the rules set. When the rules go in, it's a 5-to-1 ratio. And I know a lot of the academies are running at a 5-to-1 ratio. I think if you were to look at this a year ago, there were instructor to student ratios that were 10-to-1, 12-to-1. And I think if we're going to raise this, then it's got to be 5-to-1, which means if you've got 25 students, you need 5 instructors. And, one of the things that I think we also have to remember when, and Brian is correct that, there's about an extra 60 hours right now. But if you take the curriculum and you break it up, the lecture portion is, let's say 100 hours. Okay. And the practical portion is 120 hours. Then there's another 60 hours on top of that, if you want to say, because what we fund is 295 hours. You take 16,225 and divide it. That's how we come to that $55 an hour rate. But I realize that when you go above, let's say 20 students, if you go to 22 students, now you got to go to 5 instructors. So you got an instructor for the day, even if you're paying them $20 an hour, they're there for 8 hours, right? So that you've incurred an extra couple of $100 right there. And if you do that every Saturday when you get together, it starts to add up. The question I have though is, and this is what some folks have, you know, as you've all been reached out to, I've been being reached out to, and say, hey, wait a minute. Somebody who does a class with 20 students and does it for $16,250, and then there's somebody who does a class for 8 students and gets $16,250. So I think if you're going to look at kind of the scale is, if you're going to say, you know, Brian talks about the 3 levels, if you want to say, if you're at this many students, it's $16,225. Okay. If it's going the other way, as it goes down, the number of students, then should it be $16,250? If you've got 9 students and you've got 2 instructors, there's probably plenty of money there, right? And actually $16,225 is actually more than what you need. They're probably making a whole lot more an hour than somebody who does a class with 20 people. Conversely, if you have a classroom 20 to 30 students, you've got to add it on the other end. So I think one of the things, if we were to say $16,250 buys 20 students today, and if you go above that, then you can exponentially raise the cap. But then go the other way, that if there's only 14 or less students, then it's this much. And if it's less than 10, and some of you would say, wait a minute, I always thought that the council said you can't go below 10. And then there's the caveat, it says, with the approval of the fire marshal and a regional training coordinator. And the reason that we have that there is, I'll give you an example. You've got a county that only has 8 people. That's all the people they have. But they need all 8 of those people. We need trained firefighters first. We don't have the boots on the ground and boots in the seats. We don't have fire department. We don't have fire service. So when we get down into that, but with that also being said, if somebody's got a course that's got 8 students in it, 5 students, 6 students, I think $16,225 is too much.
I agree with that.
Because you got an instructor who's making a very high hourly wage, getting 7 or 8 people through, while you got somebody who's working their side off trying to get the other get 20 students through there. And I would agree. I hear the same things that, you know, I could send a training coordinator out every night or whatever to go look at some of these classes. And, you know, I hear the same thing. Students are telling me that I never physically ever got to touch one of these, or half of us got to. You know, when you have 25 people there and you've only got 2 or 3 instructors, that don't work. And I think that's where that 5 to 1, I think, sort of leveled the playing field this year. And it also is probably why some folks are saying, hey, wait a minute, if I'm going to do that, if that's what you require, 5 to 1, then I need a little extra money so I can make this happen. And I think that's what you're asking for, Brian, I think.
Yep. Absolutely. I don't want to get away, especially what Terry's saying. I don't feel that it should be the free boat. I still think that there should be some piece of the departments needing to pony up a little bit for it. Shouldn't be a free ride. I feel bad for the counties that spend if they would, all, you know, $17,500 on basic training and don't take care of the continuing education, which should be a piece of what we're allowing to do too with the money that's there. So I think that it needs to get to a point where if there can be more money put into smoke to help offset some of the costs and still be able to have departments pay for some of that training, that's where we want to be. The problem is, like we're all saying, with 83 different counties, everything's run a little bit differently.
Why don't you go ahead and make a motion, Brian?
Okay, I'm just going to throw out numbers, and these obviously can be adjusted as we go. I move for a 4-tier system for firefighter 1 and 2 and hazmat ops classes. I lost Andrea. Are we good there, Andrea? 1 to 10 students is $13,000 11 to 15 students is $17,000. 16 to 20 students is $21,000. 21 to 25 students is $24,000. Of money that can be placed into smoke.
I'll support it for at least, so we could discuss it.
Was that you?
Yes.
Okay. On my end, your screen froze, so I couldn't tell if that was you talking or not. So. Motion and support. Further discussion now.
So when would this start? Like immediately?
That would be great, but I don't know what you gotta do in smoke to make those changes. So
No, I think it can. It could start. If you make the motion, all the money hasn't been encumbered, right?
Right.
Still have the ability to encumber money till December 31st. So we would just have to raise the caps so that the money that could get put in there. Brian, I do think you need to address 25 to 30, or are we just saying it only goes up to 25? Because being that they typically do them in fives. I think what happens though, we have allowed that you can have an academy that has 30 students, so.
okay. I thought the rule numbers, the changes in rules, and we had dropped below that for some reason, but we could add that 26 to 30.
Yeah, I think we set a cap on it of 24, but then I know
Yeah.
it was allowable if we needed to do more.
Well, and there was the ability to go higher with approval, right? We said that all
Right.
along. And you got some academies that, run at 30. Heck, you got academies that ran bigger than that, which I'm gonna say straight up, I think it's too many people, but.
Yeah. Well, I was going up in increments of 4,000, which means technically it'd have been 25 would be 25,000, and 26 to 30 is 29,000. I was trying to keep the increments low. I remember some of the feedback I did get last year was $5,000 increments was too much. Through some research of people I've talked to, it costs about $1,000 a student to run academies, and that's just. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, did you say yes or no? I guess I missed that. Oh, you're on mute.
Just go ahead. Somebody walked in my office.
Oh, so I mean, a round number if it costs $1,000 a student, but some places might be less and some might be more. So, but I do agree with having a 1 to 10 and 11 to 15 number in there in case you have less students. But then going up from there, the 16 to 25, if you only have, 13, 14, 15 students, yeah, it's at 17 grand. To me, I think that's comparable. It's when you start getting higher than that we start having, because you still got 3 to 1 for instructors at a 15 student class. If you have 12 students, you got to have 3 instructors that are working, because the groups are going to be smaller, but still got to have the 5 to 1 ratio.
So Brian, what did you have for 26 to 30 on your tiered rate?
I put 29.
The other ones were up 4,000. This one's 5, right?
I think I misspoke. 21 to 25 should have been 25 grand. I think I said 24.
Mhm.
So, okay. So maybe that should be 25, and then 26 to 30, 29. So we go 13, 17, 21, 25, 29.
Got it.
And if that's too much, we can scale it back from there.
What happens if we have 4 or 5 dropouts?
Well, it depends. It depends on when they drop out. If they drop out 4 months into the class, we're still responsible. Academy directors are still responsible for payroll and other incidentals that were used up to that point. Hand sanitizer, gloves, masks. So all of that stuff would have been paid for that student if they drop out.
We're talking about course maximums here, right, Brian?
Maximums that can be put into smoke. And that's oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, in our attempt to solve one problem and allow counties more money, are we also going to cause another one and telling counties already have their budgets in place that they're going to have to reduce costs if they have a small academy this year?
Good point.
A budget in place and they've already started their academy.
I would say academy that's already started, that they get to continue, but if they haven't encumbered the money yet, then the new scale's in effect. So one that's already launched, already has a course number. I think they were counting on the 16,225. But if they haven't, posted the class, they haven't started yet, then, like I said, that's the other part. You talk about, this is where I hear about the greed. Hey, 1 or 2 people take in the whole 16,225. They put it all in their pocket. It's the only training that occurs in our county. And when we ask to teach, they tell us no. And when we tell them we want to get involved, we're told no. And it looks like all the money just goes into a couple individuals' pockets. And that is a common thing I've heard since April of 2017 as I travel around. I'm hoping that the rules fix some of the things even with the county training chairpersons where they're elected, because there are some kingdoms out there that have been built that are definitely having an impact on the way business gets done in all 83 counties. But Terry, does that make sense? Council can say, if you want to say, hey, it's 16,225 for everybody this year and it kicks in next year. But I also think for the bigger classes, allowing them to increase it and they got access to the funding, I think we should. We're trying to spend this money, right?
Well, I agree. And my entire thing from the people that I hear has been trying to control, what we've said here for the last few minutes is maybe the overpayment of certain things. I just didn't want to cause another problem for somebody that's already got a budget in place and now they have to try to figure it out going backwards. But I think I like your idea as far as you already have a class in place. They're already running. We could go from there and then adjust moving forward.
I don't think we should make anybody go backwards.
No.
So I guess I ask, is 13, 17, 21, 25, and 29 acceptable, or should it be 12, 16, 20, 24, 28? Are people more comfortable a little bit less? Just to make sure that we're not paying the system too much, but offering a little bit of relief.
Ryan, how many different counties do you have represented in your academy?
4.
So potentially Montcalm County puts up probably the largest piece, but you've got students then from 3 other counties. In a sense, if you're actually doing the training for that county, that cap space will allow those funds to be transferred in to that academy.
It would for us.
Because currently you're capped at 16,225.
Right. I'll relate what happened.
Can't move encumbered money over that's above that amount. That's all we allow that.
Right. And what happened this year is Ionia and Montcalm split it in half, and I'll just say at 8,000. Gratiot came in and said we have 4 students, and we had no room. They wanted to pay in smoke, and we told them it's gonna be about $1,600 to bring them in because we have no more room. And they're like, we can't afford $1,600. We want to use smoke money. Well, So Ionia paid less, Gratiot got in, but now Ionia is on the hook for basically cash to bring it back in. And so that's kind of what happened here with how all that, just in our county. And in talking to others that have more students and that they have some of the same issues that come into play. So fee, I guess, I'm just looking is the 13, 17, 21, 25, 29, what council's looking for, or should we amend those numbers anymore?
Personally, I think those are good numbers, especially right now with COVID and stuff. There are those extra expenses with, if you are in person with the hand sanitizer, masks, whatever, gloves, whatever, that has to be provided, different stuff like that. I like those numbers, but I'm only one person.
Brian, if I could say, I like the tiered approach, I think I edge on the more conservative side and in favor of a $1,000 reduction for each tier for what it's worth. And also, as noted, maybe we want to just start this in 2021, that year. Just wait a year on this. 2022, actually.
So what if the numbers were 1 to 10, $12,000, 11 to 15, the regular 16 to 25, as it always has been, 16 to 20, 20,000, 21 to 25 is 24, and 26 to 30 is 28. Is that what you're looking at, Greg? Oh.
Yes, Brian, I like that better. It's more appealing to me. Just my opinion.
And I'm fine with that as well.
Well, you said it takes like $1,000 a firefighter, yeah?
In talking to those and running the numbers, and this is the more rural areas, I'm not looking at the bigger urban areas, that's what was coming out to between $900 and $1,000. And that was with instructor wages averaging between anywhere, some were giving 25, 30, 35, and 40. Nobody was over 40. So there was that wide price range that was in there too.
Okay,
So a
so,
lot of data kind of moving around.
right. So if you get up to 30 students and you only have 28,000, you're gonna be minus 2,000.
Yes, but the departments are still gonna have to do some pay, which I think meets some of Terry's concerns also, that it should not be free gratis across the board.
Correct. Yep,
It doesn't have to
Okay.
be funded 100% by fireworks funds,
Absolutely.
what some
Right.
of us feel. As Chad said, it was never the intention of that. So I think to have this type of funding, there's skin in the game on both sides.
I think what we're talking about here is something I can also support as a compromise. I think that it makes sense, and it probably goes a long way to fix some of our issues.
We could try it. We can try it for a year. We can always revisit it next year in August. I mean, put it into effect now, see what happens, and next year in August we can tweak it.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it's a good start and we can always evaluate it and readjust as we need. But no, I think it's doable. Just to clarify, Brian, there was a motion on the floor and support. So we're in discussion, so we'll probably have to amend your motion.
Yep. I will amend my motion to the numbers, use the same motion there, Andrea, but the numbers will be 1 to 10 is 12,000. 11 to 15 is 16,225. 16 to 20 is 20,000. 21 to 25 is 24,000. And 26 to 30 is 28,000.
And this will make it a 5-tier system.
And so we'll change it to a 5-tier system. I think that also helps, brings into Kevin's point later on that, yeah, if you have less students, then there's less money that's out there.
And then I believe Eileen was the support on that one.
Yeah, I'll support it. I just want to ask one question if, to the fire marshal. Would this be difficult to, I know we kind of already touched on it a little bit and we talked about, you know, try it for a year, but is it more difficult for the Bureau or even the counties to start it right now? I mean, we could make the motion to do it, to start in 2022. You know, I just want to see if, clarify from someone if it's more difficult to start it now and wait, or is it okay? You think it would be all right?
I think that since we moved to that 5-to-1 ratio and you've got people who are implementing that and they're doing it, I think now is the time to do it.
Okay.
Share with you, it's a matter of, you know, Dan going in there and raising the cap on the class. So
Okay.
One of the things we're going to run into though is we're not going to be able to tier the cap. So the cap is going to be 28,000 is going to be the cap for the class. And it's going to take a little bit of, the only way that we're going to be able to do this is that when, you know, on the first night, we're going to have to say, this is what it is. And then we're going to say it's, or they say, hey, I'm encumbering 24,000 because I think I'm going to have 25 students. So they can do that. And I think we should. I think, you know, we need to get these courses up and running, right? And, you know, the question is, I guess the ones that have already even started, we won't go backwards on the 16,225. But if counties had extra money or had extra people coming in, they could move money between counties that would allow them to actually add more to that, to transfer it into that course.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I was gonna ask you about the cutoff. You mentioned the first night. I was gonna say, do you want to cut off after the third session? So if you have early on drops, it's a done deal. You want the first roster the first day.
Well, I think, I mean, but if somebody drops on the fourth night, you get the benefit, right? So I think it's the number that you have on the, I don't know, or do we do it halfway through? I don't know.
Well, I'm not gonna say this happens, but theoretically, I'd hate to see 26 on every roster and all of a sudden the next class, hey, well, we had 6 drop.
Sounds like you sat at a kitchen table in a fire station. What if, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I really do. I think we do need to, maybe we say that there is a cutoff, because you could have, you know, like you said, I'll get every chief in the county to put 4 names in. And then at the day of once the class is up and running, come to find out there's only 3 from a department. And instead of having 20, we've got 15, right?
Right.
There's a different amount of money, but the 16,225 this year stays the same for everybody. It doesn't go down. That way, you know, somebody who says, well, wait a minute, I started it this way. I mean, unless you tell me otherwise, I mean, we could tell somebody who's got an academy with 8 people in it that the max you're getting is 12 grand.
No, I don't think we can go backwards. Somebody made a good point. What if the budget's already in place for that?
Yep.
But I would say after the fourth lecture is when the fourth lecture piece. The other thing too, and Lene talked about, you can add to this, and this is only, that makes it tougher. It's only face-to-face classes, doesn't count for online. But I think that really opens up a can of worms too, because if people get shoved from face-to-face to online because of COVID, then what do? You know, so.
Well, you have to, you know, here's the thing with the online, you know, somebody brought that, I think Terry brought that up. He's spot on. If JB's delivering the lecture, and even if you're meeting with the class for 1 hour a week, just to check in with them and ask them questions and provide some clarity, where do you really need the extra people and where do you need the extra money? It's on the practical days. And even the practical days have to be done in person. So if you look at that, if you got 30 students, you need 6 instructors on every practical day. And you still got to get the same amount of hours if you do the lecture virtual. Some would say though, on the virtual end, if the publisher's doing the virtual stuff for you and you got one person serving kind of as the course manager and kind of working with the class, that just freed up a whole bunch of lecture money for on the back end for hands-on money too. I don't think anybody's brought that up, but in essence, it does.
So for my motion, and I'd like to amend it to add with the number coming from the 4th lecture date. With the student number coming from the 4th lecture date.
Is that clean enough, Kevin?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll put on the app, when is the 4th lecture day, so that we know that's where we go in and we lock the money. And then we tell that person, hey, by the way, this is what your cap is.
Okay.
And this is the other thing is they got to be entered in smoke. They got to be entered in, right? They got to be signed up on a roster too. So it can't be, we'll have a bunch of, hey, we think we got 20 people. There needs to be 20 people on a roster and it needs to be maintained. And we'll say this too, they've got to attend at least 4 sessions too, right? I mean, if clearly nobody attends a session, they weren't in there by the time you get to the 4th, right?
So do you request a copy of those 4 rosters or?
Yeah, I think what we could do is that we'll have them that on the 4th, after the 4th lecture occurs, the course manager's got to send in a roster and that locks it in. And then we can make the adjustments.
Because they can go into smoke and start dropping those individuals that are done, and then they'll have their solidified roster from there all the way through.
Right. That's why I'm saying that, but there has to, if somebody's on a roster and they never attended any of the previous 4 sessions, they don't count. They never came.
Right.
They were just stuffed on a roster. So you got to show that this person at least attended the class. I get it. If they drop out, the 3rd or the 4th week, I mean, there was some attendance, which means they also have to buy a book. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're online, they have to pay to be in the learning platform. So, they've got $100 and some into the deal right out of the chute just to put their name on the roster by the time they buy a book and they buy the online platform.
Okay, so there was a second amendment. Maybe I shouldn't use that. There was a 3rd revision to the motion. Eileen, do you still support?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion?
Nope. The only last piece of this is do I need wording to show this is starting now, next year? Technically, this pay thing will be for fiscal year 22. I mean, the tier system, if we're going to say that you can, to get your 16,225 and go up, that might be a second motion after we pass this. You think it'd be cleaner, Chad, to do it that way?
FY 22, it doesn't go into effect until next October.
But that's what I mean. So like this schematic is for, in effect, for next year at the 5 levels. But do we have to show for this year that it's 16,225 and then the last 2? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I would make the assumption if we don't put a date on it, it starts today.
I agree.
But does that mean by the motion that people will lose money if they're at 10 students?
No, they're not going to go below 16,225. We said that.
Right. I have to put that in the motion is what I'm saying.
So yeah, we probably should put there that anybody who has less than 15 or less students, it's still going to be 16,225
for FY 21.
For FY 21. And then you can go up on the other end.
All right, Andrew, you ready?
I don't think we've amended this many motions ever before.
So here's what I have. Motion for a 5-tier system for firefighter 1 and 2 hazmat option. 1 to 10 students is 12,000. 11 to 15 students is 16 to 25. 16 to 20 students is 20,000. 21 to 25 students is 24,000. And 26 to 30 students is 28,000 for money that can be placed into smoke, with the student number coming from the 4th lecture date. For fiscal year 21, anyone who has 15 or less students stays at 16 to 25.
I think it should say current fiscal year, not future fiscal year.
I just put for fiscal year 21.
And it'll be for any class with 10 students or less.
Any class with 15 or less students.
Oh, I see how you put it, because you're ranking those two together. Okay, never mind. No, that's fine.
For fiscal year 21, any class with 15 or less students stays at 16 to 25.
Yep, that's good. Would you go back to the first sentence, is hazmat operations?
Operations, yeah.
Okay. Motion for a 5-tier system for firefighter 1 and 2 with hazmat operations. 1 to 10 students is 12,000. 11 to 15 students is 16 to 25. 16 to 20 students is 20,000. 21 to 25 students is 24,000. And 26 to 30 students is 28,000 for money that can be placed into smoke, with the student number coming from the 4th lecture date. For fiscal year 21, any class with 15 or less students stays at 16 to 25.
For just FY 21, right? Because in FY 22, it will change to the whole scale is in effect.
Say that one more time. You sounded like a robot.
One of the things that we have to look at, we talk about that for classes 15 under will remain at 16,225 for FY 21. And that the whole 5-tier system will be in effect for FY 22 moving forward. So that somebody doesn't come back and say, hey, you put in here that, or do you think it's clear the other way?
I think because we said FY 21, it would just make sense that, okay, for 21, well, we're in 22. I guess I don't need to, it doesn't count that. That's how I see it.
Unless you just make it for only FY 21, just put the word only in there.
Okay. Okay, for only FY 21, any class with 15 or less students stays at 16 to 25.
I don't know what number of revision that is, but Eileen,
It's a record.
Eileen, you still support?
Affirmative. I still support it.
Thank you, thank you.
And there was more there than during the behavioral wellness motion, I think.
Oh my.
And I complimented Greg for his patience on that one.
I honestly thought this was going to be an easy meeting today. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Andrea, final, not final, but roll call, please.
Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Renee White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
That 9.
Okay, moving on. GAQ course applications, we have I believe they're all 3 holdovers from last meeting, so. And I think we're just missing signatures, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Correct.
If you guys want to consent these, I'm all good with that. If you want to do them separate, that's fine too.
I make the motion, we consent them, 18, we have 8 -018, -044, and -045.
I'll second that.
Was that with approval, Alan?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nope, just clarifying. And then I think Jacob, you supported?
Yep, I support.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, Andrea, roll call, please.
All right, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Renee White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
That 9.
Thank you very much. I normally do not allow this, but Holly, you reached out to me, but Andrew, you reached out to me, but Holly actually got to me first. We need to, at a minimum, approve February date to meet because we did not get our meeting dates set up for 2021. I kind of dropped the ball on that one. I had it in my notes about a month or 2 ago, and it slipped through the cracks. So, second, so what would be the proposed date? Would it be the 9th, Holly?
You looking at the second Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, the 9th.
Second Tuesday is the 9th.
So right now, I guess I'd entertain a motion to meet on February 9th. And then at that time, we can probably adopt the 2021 agenda or schedule.
I'll make a motion.
I make the motion.
I believe Renee got it first.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion of support. Any further discussion on that? Same time, same schedule as our normal. Other than that, Andrew, roll call, please.
Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Renee White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And we finally come to number 8, public comment. We've lost about 20 people along the way with all of our revisions or amended motions, but the remaining 50 of us, we're open to public comment.
Chief Rob Ginther, Beverly Hills, asking to be recognized.
Go ahead, sir.
Afternoon, everybody. I know you were trying to rocket through this one and that didn't work out, so I will hopefully not take up too much time. I just wanted to bring something up, I guess, for a little clarification. I know that you can't act on it. I know that it's, you're past that part on the agenda. I fully support and believe it's a good idea to tier the fire academies based upon participation. But one thing that I would like to bring to council's attention to perhaps address in future meetings is the timeline of encumbering money versus what you may end up resulting with in your academies, which is to say, if you have an academy in April that starts and you're pretty sure you're going to have the maximum amount, however, for whatever reason of best intentions, you only end up with 15 and you submit that money would automatically go back into the state training fund for redistribution. However, there may be unfunded courses within that county that, didn't make the cut. So, not getting into the minutia of the law, this is more of a broad suggestion. Perhaps if council could consider, much like you did with the grants last year, that if academies encumber money but use less based upon this tiered pricing, that money is first gone back to the county for reallocation for courses that may not have been funded before it gets taken out of the county, if that kind of makes sense. So just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, sir. Any other further comment?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all y'all.
Thank you, Matthew. You as well.
I just want to say one thing. I want to thank you guys for showing my academy and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and the real changes that are going to be happening in the fire service here soon. I took notes the whole time, and I've got about 5 pages with all the redactions that were happening.
Thank you, Colin. We appreciate all of you that joined us. When you guys were logging on, I noticed a lot of new faces, and I'm like, who are all these people? So I'm glad Kevin pointed all of you out. So that was it was good to see, and I hope you guys come back each and every meeting. So it's great to see so many people log on to these.
And with hair.
Yes.
For the chair, it was nice to not be the youngest person on these meetings for once.
I still think you're the youngest, Jake.
And Greg, you still got a little bit of hair left.
Any other public comment? I see it, Matt. Thank you for showing us.
Hey, Chad, Steve McKellar.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to commend the board. It's fire academies are, depending on your students, are ran by the more students you have, the more instructors you have, and I'm glad it's finally being recognized. It's been a long time coming. The number, the 295, is it's not a good number. I've averaged 420 hours per academy over the last 5 years on manpower. So I commend the board for making this move. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
At Captain Seal, North Oakland Fire.
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to each one of you. I certainly appreciate your due diligence and your hard work as board members. You guys spend a lot of time working. I also want to thank you for addressing the academy issue. I think it's definitely a move in the good direction to provide the quality instructing in academies that the council is looking for. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the kind words, sir. Any other further comment? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on to council comment. I'll go right on my screen here. Jacob, you're up first, actually.
I want to thank everybody for their attendance, everybody for their hard work. I want to recognize Brian on the motion that you made today. Your work doesn't go unnoticed. I also want to acknowledge feedback. I know original motion that Brian had submitted to the council, I voted no on after reaching out and getting the feedback necessary to make the right vote, I guess you'd say. I was comfortable today agreeing with Brian's motion. So feedback is important. By all means, reach out to us. All of our point of contact information is available on the Bureau's website. And I look forward to hearing from everybody via phone or email when needed.
I'll be sure to blow up your phone, Jacob. Thank you. Brian, you're up next.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. I'll make sure I say that before I forget it. Thank you very much for being patient with me and going through the 300, 400, as well as looking at the tiered system. I think maybe in the very end, it was a blessing that last year it was voted down, because I think maybe now, based upon the feedback I received since that time, I've listened to council members after that meeting, some of the concerns. So we'll kind of weave that into this, looking at less money for the smaller classes. So I guess probably at the very end, it was a good thing what happened last year, and now we can move forward with a better product. So I appreciate all the council people that spoke to me about this in the last year, especially after that meeting, and also the feedback I received from the field. So thank you, everybody, and have Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Terry.
I think it was a good day today. It was a long day, but we got a lot accomplished. I also voted no a year ago on a similar proposal. But I think it is important that, as we look through the things that we've tackled, as a council, that we seem to find a way to get a compromise and to move things down the road and to do what we think is best for the fire service in our state. So I think that it's good that happens. I'm always proud that we can come to a compromise and find some middle ground, even on things that maybe that we started a mile apart on. By the time we're finished through discussion, we're able to bring things together. Just to reiterate, I think the motion for the mental health and well-being is very important, and hopefully that the groups that we put together will take that and use those funds to continue to improve the mental well-being of our firefighters. Other than that, everybody have a great Christmas, and we will see you after the New Year.
You as well, sir. Thank you. Eileen, you're next.
Hey, I wanted to start out with listening to the fire marshal's report and the line of duty deaths we've had. And I know a fellow firefighter who recently passed from cancer. I was going to see if we could suggest at the start of each council meeting, if we could have a moment of silence for all the firefighters who have died since the previous council meeting. So I don't know if we need a motion for that, but I just thought that would be appropriate.
I think we used to do that, and for some reason we got away
I thought
from
we
it.
had, and we've kind of gotten away from it, I think.
Yeah, I think it probably just needs to be on the agenda so we always remember if we could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If we could add that, that would be great. And talking about cancer, House Bill 4063 that we talked about earlier in the meeting, also with that bill, we were trying to rename it in memory of Chris Slezak. He's a Sterling Heights firefighter that died November 25th after a 12-year battle with leukemia. So I just right now would like to say to all the Sterling Heights firefighters, you're in our hearts and we're just thinking of you guys, and hopefully we can get this passed. So right now I am sending, or I'm going to be sending in the chat Representative Iden's phone number as well. I saw the email in there a couple times, but I'm going to send his phone number as well, so we can send that out to everybody. I'd like to say thanks to Brian for his patience and due diligence with this Fire Academy motion that we did. Did a great job, a lot of research, and I appreciate it. And again, just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. And just from what I understand, as far as Brian Iden, he is the only one that is actually holding it up. So just an FYI. Thank you, Eileen. Next up, Chief Stiles.
Hey, thanks. A couple things. The long day, like Terry said, but thank you for the due diligence of everybody. I know some of the people who weren't there this morning, our guests. We did go long and hard about it, and as most know, I'm very passionate about that, the mental wellness, and I think this is a step in the right direction. Obviously, next year we'll do something different, but I think this is key right now. Sentiments with Eileen towards the firefighter that lost his life to cancer. But again, the 109 that have taken their lives, not necessarily all here in Michigan, obviously, but the two in Detroit here recently really hit home again that we have to fix this. And I know some people don't like this, and I will say this as a chief officer, if your administration doesn't believe in this, have them call me, and I will explain it to them very, very fruitfully of why this is important. And believe me, we will be successful. So for the rest of my council members, thank you for really putting the due diligence in to do this. And again, Brian, thank you for the right thing to do. It just took some time, like everything. We can't build it in a day, but we can get it there. So I wish everybody a very happy holiday season. And I do wish for everybody to have a happy new year. And please be safe with this COVID. It's still getting us, but we'll get there. So just keep your head up, keep your hands clean, and we'll see you when we see you.
Lene? Oh, you might have audio issues again. All right, thank you. Chief Janet.
So you can't do sign language? Okay. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everyone. I feel the council made significant progress today. Strong work, in particular to Eileen for bringing behavior and mental health to the forefront and focus of the council. My hat is tipped to you. Brian, you're like a locomotive. You just keep going, and I admire that about you. So I think both of you are most notable today, and I'm thankful for that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Kevin?
Hey, great work by the council. It's pretty amazing. And like I said, you look back on the year, all the accomplishments that we have been able to accomplish in this very weird year. And now hopefully moving forward with meeting the needs that, it all starts at the beginning. It starts in a fire academy. And if you don't build a solid foundation, a lot of things can happen along the way, right? And looking at line of duty deaths, I will say this as the fire marshal, you will see me come out in 2021 very focused on we've got to take better care of ourselves and we need to reduce line of duty deaths. And it's some simple stuff that we can do. And Alan, I think you hit it spot on. If you have a chief that doesn't believe in this stuff, I will share with you, and I talked about this on Wednesday wrap up. I know a number of people that are on the job across the state in some of the biggest fire departments and some of the smallest fire departments. And at the end of the day, we probably have about 80% of our fire service in the state that doesn't have any type of insurance that will help them to address this mental health thing. And I got hit up with about 2 months ago, somebody was having a bad day. I'm gonna leave it at that. And I started looking out and I said, this is easy. I'm gonna go to the Fallen Firefighter Foundation, and they provided me a list. Being an advocate, that was great. I knew some of those resources. I went to different organizations around and I looked at what was there. And there is a lot of stuff that's out there for if you're on the verge of committing suicide, if you've gotten that far along the way, because I started looking at these, I go, well, I'll tell this person to call this number. And it says, well, if you're going to commit suicide, call this number. Well, that person wasn't to that point, thank God, right? But the reality is that I would ask you to go out and look at this. And before we come back, go out and show me where there's a place that somebody can call and can get help. And better yet, they don't have to pay for it out of their pocket. Because I've had more than one firefighter come up to me and share with me that they've got $10,000 in medical debt to deal with something that was specifically related to this job. Where in the case, they didn't get backed up by the fire department. They didn't get backed up by the township. And so here they are, they're scratching their head going, I had to get well. And to get well cost $10,000 that they continue to have garnished out of their paycheck every week. For cumulative stuff that we see on this job. So we're gonna do great things. I'm so happy that what we worked on this morning, I'm happy that the academies are lining up. I think we fixed some. Chief McKellar, you're spot on. I know that it costs a lot of money to do academies, but I also would challenge you to do this. Somehow we have to work with what do we do to help the people who are struggling with mental health? And how do we come up with a system where they can get the help they need and that it financially doesn't ruin them in the process? And when you start putting finances in the equation, people stop coming to training, people stop coming to the department. We've talked about recruiting and retention. They have problems in their marriages. I mean, there's a host of things here that I think we really need to focus on. So thanks for all the great work in the last year. It's been great to work with this council. I look forward to what we're going to do in 2021. We get COVID behind us, hopefully sooner than later in the next year. But happy holidays, everyone. And we're going to continue to make the fire service better here in the state of Michigan. And it all starts with every one of us stepping up and doing a little more to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to echo each and every one of you. I think it's been an outstanding year. We've made lots of progress. Most of all, though, I'd like to thank, our friends and family that come to these meetings every single day. And even if they don't come to the meetings, they're reaching out to us about their concerns and the changes that they want to see, because that's where we really get our vision from and where we get our direction from. So not just our organizations, but the ones that our organizations represent. So and beyond, I think even though we are part of organizations, I think obviously the fire service is one big family, and we are all together on this. So Brian, definitely good work on the tiered system and bringing it back. So I don't think the concept that before, I don't think was out there. It was just the motion itself. So I think we all know that they're underfunded. So, and I'm glad that we made that change. So like I said, if it's a good start, we can always make adjustments as we need. So that's what we do each and every time that we meet. So without holding anybody up, I wish each and every one of you and your families safe and Merry Christmas. And like Style said, wash your hands. So can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn. Janik.
I second it.
Motion and support. Andrea, now final roll call.
We have Chad Tackett,
Yes.
can you hear me?
You got me. I said yes. I didn't hear
Okay.
you.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White. Wait, okay, thumbs up. Got it. Gary Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Saulmeyer.
Yes.
That's mine.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Bye, everybody.